Thank you very much for the invitation. It's a great honor to me to be here. Excuse me for my English. My favorite language is German, so please understand me. And excuse me that I have no picture from ancient Greek. So it will only quotations from the time. I'd like to answer one question. How did the ancient Greeks understand the term causality? Of course, it's my proposition of understanding this Greek concept, and I will read. It's be faster than to speak. The issue of causality is one of the most serious and oldest issues in the history of European thought. One can claim with full conviction that this presence was meaningful for the form assumed by Greek thought. The heart of the matter is the conviction that everything which exists in any way has and must have its cause. It seems that such a sentence is a common feature of all cultures. It is hard to find a cultural circle in which it would be absent. The difference comes down to the ways the question was answered. In the beginning, Greeks, like other people, were searching for a justification, primarily in the area of mythology and theology, theogonist, cosmologist. But the character of philosophical question about cause was changed. Greek philosophers become convinced that there is an essential difference between the nature of cause and the nature of result. And result is not only a simply development of cause. The decisive role was undoubtedly played by Anaximander, Thales' students. Greek philosophers had a specific physics, as they thought that its form can amount to 4 states. Today we would say phase states: solid, liquid, gaseous, and a state of diverse energy. They correspond with the elements: earth, water, air, and fire. If you ask about the cause of the world composed of such elements, it must be claimed that none of the elements should be regarded as cause. Of course, when we distinguishing the nature of cause and the nature of result. While asking from this perspective about the cause of the world, it must be claimed that it may be only something which is unlimited. Anaximander named it apeiron. This way, he expressed the conviction prevalent among Greeks that the visible universe come into existence from indeterminacy, the state in which there was no order and no structure. Others will confirm it later. Pythagoreans will talk about the limitlessness principle. Anaxagoras and Empedocles about the primary mixture. Democritus about the vacuum. Plato about the indeterminate space. Aristotle about the indeterminate primary matter. Different quotations for. One can see the coincidence with Hesiod's theological thought and his conception of chaos, from which the visible universe emerged. Greek genius manifested itself in statement that the reason of the world, the cause of its nature, is limit, peras. Every being is therefore what it is, owing to its inherent individual limit, which determines its essence and distinguishes it from other beings. Greek also draw attention to another aspect of the issue. They will connect that the question about cause and limits with the question about shape and form that indeterminants will assume. It is an essential change in the cognition of essence of cause. There's the conviction that the decisive role in creating the form of the visible world is played by a system of limits, which determine the cosmic order and harmony. Greeks say taxis diakosmonenon kekosmenos syntaxis katakosmein. The word structure is the result of an arrangement and connection of constituent elements. This is why the Greeks will call the universe order. What is it itself then? Greek answer: cosmos is organized, ordered system of limits which determine the limitless. The question about the cause of the world will be transformed into the question about the essence of the cosmic order and will denote comprehension of the limits which organize this order. What are the limits and how many of them are there? Greek philosophers assume their multiplicity. They grasp them as forms or physical shapes superposed on the original indeterminate material which decide about the ways to shape primary elements. In their cognition, the language of mathematics turns out to be extremely useful. Above all, the language of geometry, shapes, and the language of arithmetics, numbers and numerical ratios. Our limits, which determine the form of elements, manifested only by numbers and mathematical shapes, or are the numbers and mathematical shapes themselves? Or perhaps number and shape only make up the subjective way to describe those limits. Paradigmatically, there are three attitudes in this respect. Plato represents the first one, claiming that, as Aristotle expresses precisely, numbers and shapes are the images of limits and they occupy an intermediate place between ideas and phenomena. The second attitude is adopted by Pythagoreans, who argue that limits are simply mathematical beings. The third possibility is used by Aristotle, who claims that mathematical objects, as abstract objects, are only a result of the subjective way to describe limits. This argument remains topical to this day. In Greece, It gave rise to the conception of mathematical natural science, physicotera tom mathematon, in which understanding of the cosmic order will be strictly connected with its mathematical description. This conception will reach its full development within the walls of the Platonic Academy, in works of Eudoxus from Cnidos, Speusippos, Xenocrates, and Heracleides Ponticus. One should ask further, thanks to what such an orderly, composed of limits structure of the world emerged? Greeks believed that the decisive role is played by the interactions and relations among elements. Those interactions are the ways to connect the primary elements with one another, proportions of the elements, arrangements and locations in the indeterminate space. Such interactions can be examined in two ways. By means of the dialectical method, analyzing connections and relations among the notions which describe the elements. In the second case, examining interactions by means of various mathematical, geometrical, and algebraic methods. In both cases, we analyze which connections occur, which may occur, or which are totally impossible. This is the kind of, I think, ancient structuralism, when it's possible to say something. The list issue concerns the question about the ultimate cause of the cosmic order. At the same time is the question about the cause of existence of limits in cosmos, the form and multiplicity of limits. Greeks find the explanation in the theory of supreme principles of being. This theory defines the argument of ultimate justification. They assume that the principles might be the one and many, the opposites, the limits and the limitlessness, love and hate, the cosmic intellect, logos, the divine mind, or the divine organizer of the world, demiurge. The effect of those principles is therefore a determined form and arrangement of each limit, which decides about the form of the visible world. These principles establish the end of the justification. One cannot go beyond. These questions and problems were precisely codified in Aristotle's philosophy, which proposed the classical theory of four causes: formal, efficient, and final. Material, formal, efficient, and final. The material causality, to chyle, to hypokoimenon, answers the question what something arises from. The formal cause, to tieneinai, defines what is something that arises. The efficient cause, charchetes kinesos, defines why arises something that arises. Finally, the final cause, to eneka, to telos, answers the question thanks to what something that arises in general arises. Aristotle acknowledged those questions as fundamental in constructing any philosophy or knowledge, and he identified wisdom with a cognition of the primary principles and primary causes. He expressed thereby the essence of Greek attitude towards the world, the attitude with examining causes and principles views, the most profound foundations to create philosophy and science. It became the basis of European rationality and a source of creating technological civilization. What is also important is the fact that after almost 3,000 years, this project has not undergone a major change. Looking from the perspective of the present-day natural science, we can ask, which of the questions asked by Greeks should be recognized as essential for the contemporary debate of the nature of the world? I believe that is still the same question. A question about cause, focused today on the issue of essence of the cosmic order, astrophysics and cosmology, and the order of the invisible world, quantum or subquantum world. This order, both explicit and implicit, should be uncovered. Extracting what is implicit from behind the cover of what is explicit, Greeks called aiming, searching the true, and determined with the notion aletheia. We see the alpha privativum to letter. To find the true is to reveal the explicit and implicit order. Only the intellect can accomplish it. And it does so only because it is itself a part of this order. And the whole cosmos is created, as the whole cosmos is created. This conception Plato calls anamnesis. The aim of the action, the essence of science, is cognition of the structure, thus the cognition of the whole system of connections and relation created by constituent elements. Therefore, the cognition must aim, on the one hand, at cognition of very elements, and on the other hand, at examining the system of connection which occur among them. This examination is searching for an inner schema, cosmic pattern, according to which the world order was created. We are still doing it like it was done in antiquity by means of intellectual models. Today and then, likewise, they are mostly mathematical models. This way we took a roundabout way. Like Greeks, we try to read the order of cosmos referring to its mathematical description. And it does not seem to be a specific kind of miracle mentioned by Eugen Wigner. One should rather claim that the true miracle would be the lack of such ability. Then nothing could be comprehended and nothing could be cognized. That's what I think we learn from the ancient Greeks. So the most important thesis proposed by the Greeks is the thesis that the essence of cause must be seen in the notion of the order. And order is what makes the reality rational. Then the cause must be rational too. So, if it's rational, it can be understood as logos, divine mind, or divine power. This way we find a connection between philosophy and theology that is possible. If we understand the Pythagoreans' notion of harmony as notion of order, we can say, and let me quote a great Pythagorean philosopher, Philolaus, "This is how it is with nature and harmony. The being of things is eternal, and nature itself requires divine and not human intelligence. Moreover, it would be impossible for any existing thing to be even recognized by us if there did not exist the basis being of the things from which the universe was composed, namely both the limiting and not limited. But since these elements exist as unlike and unrelated, it would clearly be impossible for a universe to be created with them unless a harmony was added. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So do we have questions or comments? We have plenty of time, so okay, so maybe we
just what were the Greeks? It's just to yes.
What would ancient Greek say about multiverse concept? Such an
Okay, it's easy to answer because much of Greek philosophers have a conception of multiverse because, for example, Anaximander says there's an unlimited words that exists, and it's just a beautiful concept because Anaximander says that the words are growing up from the apeiron, then throughout ekpyrosis they are coming back to the apeiron, and so we have unlimited words in our cosmos. And it's very simple for the Greeks, for example, to connect eternity and time because the universe is eternal, but words are in time and they are changing. So it's not a great problem for the Greek philosophers to connect eternity and time. It's quite easy. It must be not so different that or it's something is eternal or something is in time exists. No, this is eternal is the whole structure of the universe, but the combination of elements are in time, so it's very it's possible to understand that such a possibility is. So yes, the first conception on multiverse is proposed by Anaximander when somebody wants to look for a ground. Thank you.
Bill? And then, okay.
I have really two questions that are related. It's about what did Aristotle mean by material cause, and what did he mean by final cause? In particular, in later hylomorphic theory, matter and form, the material cause was conceived as prime matter or pure potentiality without any form. Is that what Aristotle meant by material cause? He meant no, pure potentiality. Okay. And so he would say that there was no really concrete material cause that you could see because every material, yeah, okay. And then the final cause, he never meant, he didn't restrict that to anything that was intended, right? It didn't have to be conscious intention in terms of, what did he mean by final cause? Yeah.
Great. I think we just have... Okay, come here.
First, of course, we have to do it with the two elements of the material cause, because we have the protohyla and the deuterohyla. That what we see as a word is the deuterohyla, and the protohyla is only the possibility. But it's for other for other word we can see that is something for us to tell us, which explains the possibility of existing the forms. The forms are possible inside the first protohyla, because then they can realize in the deuterohyla, and it's for Aristotle, as I think so, it's necessary to accept such a prime mother, because when we want to understand the second mother, we must have a ground. And I think that this is the cause of the Aristotelian conception of two mothers, protohyla and deuterohyla. So it's clear, but I've asked a famous Professor Krompiec, he was specialist in Aristotle's conception, and I'm asking what about the forms, and where are the place of the forms, where they exist or pre-exist, and he answers quite clearly in a protohyla, as possibilities then can be realized in a process of actualization. So, of course, it is not the word of Plato's that can be that the forms existing for himself and autonomous. Now that's together. That's the conception of matter and form. They are existing in the substance and constitute the substance, not alone, not in other word. That was the, I think, fundamental discussion with Plato. If it's possible to take such a individual self-word like a word of ideas, what we can do with the forms, where they are exist, and where we can find the ground for the forms. So this is my answer.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Derek?
Okay, I was just going to ask if you could summarize briefly the extent to which you think Aristotle's notion of cause really built on pre-existing ideas in Greek philosophy, or whether you think it was a wholly new departure.
That's when I understand the pre-existing of the forms in matter in Aristotle's conception. Yes?
The extent to which philosophers preceding Aristotle had already developed the ideas that he built on, or whether Aristotle's idea of causation was a new departure, a fresh start in Greek philosophy.
I think that Aristotle was a great classificator, and he have very good view of the whole tradition, and he can take it together in a precise concept. So the material cause, formal cause, efficient cause, and there are not only the concept of Aristotle, but there's the concept of the whole tradition. So it's, I think, not so original. That is, of course, the discussion too about the connection between Plato and Aristotle. We must understand that our concept of Aristotle is taken from the Middle Ages mostly. But in the ancient time, it was not such a great difference. Commentators of the time are talking that Aristotle was a Platonic pupil, and we can't forget that he was with Xenocrates in Assos in a Platonic academy, and they're teaching Platonic philosophy. And that's my opinion, I have found Aristotle as a way in understanding, special way in understanding Plato's ontology. So the concept of two words, for example, I think so strongly think is impossible. Of course, from ontological point of view, we have ideas that are eternal and now the phenomena, but we must understand that this is a great problem. Because how can you understand a phenomena without a principle of organization, without idea? How can you understand idea without this, in which this idea is? So.
Thank you. Do we have more questions, or so if not, we can thank our speaker again.